Welcome, dear honorable guests, dear delegates. Our opening ceremony will start in 1 minute, but before we start our official part of the ceremony, I think we should listen to a nice piece of music. So to open our ceremony, Victoria, please switch on. Victoria, thank you. So before we start our official part of the ceremony, I would like to introduce myself as I'm going to be your moderator for today. My name is Nikita Smolyaninov, and apparently I'm Secretary General of Turkey Moscow International Model United Nations. And before we start, I would like to introduce our honorable guests. Today, I have an honor to welcome Vladimir Stanislavovich Pavinsky, Deputy Director of the United Nations Information Center in Russia; Alexei Nikolaevich Borisov, Vice President of World Federation of the United Nations Associations; Yulia Dilukina, Assistant Coordinator for the Committees of Turkey Moscow International Model United Nations; and Helena Souki, President of Association for the United Nations and International Law and Secretary General of the University of Carlos III Model United Nations. And now I would like to give the floor to Vladimir Stanislavovich. Vladimir Stanislavovich, the floor is yours.
Dear friends, it gives me great pleasure to meet all of you here today. It is nice to be present, albeit remotely, at today's extraordinary online Model UN, which brings together so many young people from all over the world. It is also noteworthy that this conference is being coordinated by the United Nations Association of Russia and MGIMO University, the long-standing partners and friends of the United Nations. We at the UN are really satisfied with the fact that despite the restrictions imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the global public, particularly young people, are actively joining the UN 75 dialogues, and your model session is definitely one of such UN 75 events. We gather as COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc across the globe. The human crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic is a reminder of the need to move faster and farther to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. This pandemic has put a spotlight on the need to strengthen multilateral cooperation, governance, and above our global solidarity. We must continue to step up cooperation in core areas where our impact is the greatest: climate change, economic transformation and employment, and rooting out poverty and leaving no one behind. Partnerships will also be pivotal, as will support to countries in special situations, including those experiencing fragility and crisis. It is largely through model UN sessions that the number of people involved in the work of the UN keeps growing, whereas the World Organization itself remains in high demand by society. It is not a secret that the United Nations is an organization rooted in its member states. In this sense, the UN is constantly evolving, thereby becoming an organization for each and every person, as it was initially designed. By its nature, it is an open organization that appeals to the aspirations of every human being, as long as he or she considers himself an integral part of the global community. One of the main purposes of the UN is to maintain international peace and security. At the same time, however, the global organization has to deal with complex challenges that affect countries and peoples worldwide, such as the improvement of the quality of life of poor people, the ongoing fight against hunger and diseases, elimination of illiteracy, assistance and safeguarding a mutual respect for human rights and freedoms, conservation of the environment, humanitarian aid. The list is far from being exhaustive. Dear friends, raising public awareness of the United Nations is an essential cross-cutting function of the United Nations Information Center in Moscow, which I represent. Established in 1948, the UN Information Center in Moscow, we call it UNIC Moscow, is the oldest UN office in the country. UNIC Moscow is the principal source of information about the UN system in the Russian Federation. The UNIC is responsible for promoting public understanding and support for the aims and activities of the United Nations by disseminating UN information materials to a local audience in English and Russian, engaging local and regional partners, and overall bringing the UN closer to the people it serves. It is also a repository of knowledge, global best practices, and standards in a myriad of areas, being at the same time a sort of a local UN public relations service. UNIC Moscow has been tireless in engaging the youth and educational institutions. Young people remain a vital partner and target audience for UNIC Moscow, particularly when organizing activities to promote the Sustainable Development Goals or coordinating Model United Nations to learn about the work and structure of the organization. Plans of the UN are long-term in character. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that the UN badly needs people who will be able and willing to realize these initiatives. And those people are you. We count on your ability to conduct constructive negotiations, reach agreements, and wish you to successfully practice these and other useful skills at the UN Model Conference. We wish you to align your ideas with those of your colleagues, working as individuals and in groups, while developing such important qualities as engagement, mutual tolerance, understanding, and respect for each other. Model UN can serve as a good tool for engendering such qualities in your inner selves. Participation in this role model can help you acquire perfect international communication skills, as it is supposed to focus on one important factor in determining harmonized cooperation between nations, and that is multilingualism. Dear friends, blazing a trail is only achievable for those who blaze it. I sincerely wish you all the best in this interesting journey. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Vladimir Stanislavovich, for your speech. And now I would like to yield the floor to the C-MIMUN Secretary General, Nikita Smolyanинov.
Yulia, thank you. Honorable guests, honorable delegates, I feel delighted and proud that we are here today. That distance is no longer an impediment for all of us, that our dialogue, Dialogue of those who forge the future of the world is continuous and uninterruptible. I'm proud that we have managed to take this dialogue to a brand new level. This Model United Nations is indeed exceptional and unique. For the first time ever in the history of Model United Nations movement, two experienced and worldwide famous student organizations have joined their efforts to hold a joint conference, the first ever joint Model United Nations. Moreover, I believe that this event is a vivid illustration of how global cooperation among young people works. It makes me more and more confident that whatever happens in the world, we will always be able to preserve these bonds of international friendship, this mutual understanding and willingness to hear each other and be ready to work together. What makes us more reliant is that we all crave changes that will bring global peace, stability, and prosperity of the whole humanity. We all dream that one day the world will truly adhere to universal principles set out in the United Nations Charter. We are all dreamers, and it's fascinating when our dreams come true. Dear delegates, I hope that upcoming week will be marked by heated debates, innovative ideas, new friends. Let it become one of the most memorable, amazing, and joyful weeks in your student life. Thank you. And now, I would like to give the floor to Yulia Dilukina, Assistant Coordinator for the Committees of Turkey and Moscow International Model United Nations.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Good morning, dear guests, delegates, and viewers. I feel very excited to greet you here today. This is our second online model since the pandemic started, and I'm convinced that the more you do something, the greater the success is. So, taking reference to the high level of the organization of the event, I can assure those who have participated in our previous online model and are here today will not be disappointed at all. Thanks to the devotion of both main organizers, C-MIMUN and ANUDI, I can proudly say that this model will be extraordinary not only because it's an out-of-session meeting, but because of its quality. We did our best organizing the model. The choice of the committees, languages, chairs, country lists, cultural program, and all the events, everything was made by you, for you, dear delegates. Now it's time for you to act. I hope you will fully take pleasure in participating in the conference. The result of our model will depend on you, and I truly believe that we will succeed. Let's make this model unique and unforgettable. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia. That was a very gorgeous speech. And now I would like to yield the floor to our honorable guest from Spain, to Helena Soki, President of Association for the United Nations and International Law, and also Secretary General of University of Carlos III Model United Nations. Helen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, good morning to everyone, and welcome to this amazing conference. It is an honor for me to be here representing ANUDI in working for the collaboration of this conference. And I would like to say first, that is for sure, as the previous people that spoke before me, it is a very challenging time right now in the world. And these are the times where we can blossom as people and as organizers and delegates of these amazing conferences. This is for sure something innovative and something that will for sure change the dynamics that will be taken on forward in events that are such as Models of United Nations. These times have reminded me of one important speech that I received from one of my first teachers in Models of United Nations, where I asked him maybe why he was sometimes very rough on us on how he was training us during those times. And he explained to me that when you receive so many hardships through your life is where you really, as I said before, you can blossom and you can know the capacities that you have as a person, as a professional, etc. So he was pretty much saying that once you are challenged so much, you start either failing or reaching to a certain roof that you have in terms of your capacities. There are some people that don't have those roofs or ceilings in terms of their capacities, and that's what kind of people he was looking for to train. This times, as the global pandemic there's an ongoing global pandemic, and we are still continuing to do these activities. We are continuing being challenged and challenging ourselves and the community itself on what we can do and what are we capable of achieving. So this is for sure a moment where I believe during these 5 days of conference, we are going to show that even though we're going through these hard times, we will be able to come through and continue doing this wonderful events where we promote the values of United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals, and human rights throughout borders. This is something that I would also like to celebrate, since we are collaborating in two organizations that are, one is in Spain, one is in Russia. We come from very different backgrounds, different history, but we come together as we have one goal and one passion for the models of United Nations. So with not much further to say, I would like to once again thank you all for being here, for being committed to this amazing conference. I hope you all have a great time this next days. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. It's a great pleasure for our organization to work with your organization. So thank you for your support. And now, before we close the ceremony, not the model, but the ceremony, obviously, I would like, to say a few words. I would like to say thank you to organizations and establishments that has brought a lot of efforts to support our activity in Russia. I would like to say thank you to our honorable United Nations Association of Russia and Alexei Nikolaevich Borisov and Anatoly Vasilyevich Tarpunov, to our university, GIMO University, and to United Nations Information Center in Russia, as they have always helped us a lot during our quite hard path of our movement in Russia.